What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Excellent weekend of NFL football. Preseason week 1 in the books. I enjoyed every second of it, but profited as well from some stuff. But let's get to all the games here. So on Friday we had a 3-game slate. Texans getting the win 20-12, their first preseason win. Justin Fields was not impressive at all. So bodes well for Russell Wilson. He's going to start this coming weekend. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I was very happy that Justin Fields did not look that great. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, did look pretty solid through a long touchdown to Tank Dell. That was the last play of his night and most of the first team offense as well. So 2 of 4 for 41 yards in that score. Kyle Allen had a pretty solid night for the Steelers, 17-23, 73.9, 193, a touchdown, a pick, and an 11-yard carry. Davis Mills and Case Keenum continue to play very well. It's one of the competitions I think I haven't heard anyone talk about. The backup quarterback in Houston. I don't know if they're going to keep 3 or not, but I don't think you can determine a winner right now because Mills and Keenum have both played very well in the Hall of Fame game and in the first week of the preseason as well. Dejon Edwards, he led the game in rushing. Go Dogs. 3 carries, 28 yards, touchdown, 9-yard reception. Calvin Austin actually led the game in receiving for Pittsburgh. 2 catches, 49 yards on 3 targets. You had the score by Tank Dell, the score by Connor Hayward as well. And then defensively, the rookie, man, 3rd rounder, Peyton Wilson looked very good. Led the game in tackles with 7, 6 of them solos, a tackle for loss. And however, my defensive player of the game is the guy with 2 turnovers, safety Brandon Hill, second-year player for the Texans out of Pitt. Ironically, 4 tackles, 2 solos, a pass deflection, a pick, and a fumble recovery. Houston minus 3.5, covered under 38.5, which I had. The Dolphins getting the win 20-13 over the Falcons, and we didn't see any starters on either side. However, we did see the number 8 overall pick, Michael Penix Jr., in his debut. Pretty solid, 9-16, 56.3%, 104. It was tough for me to pay too much attention to this game because I was watching the Steelers game and the Eagles game at the same time as well. But yeah, from the stats and what I kind of saw a little bit of, Penix looks pretty decent out there. And from what Daniel Jeremiah said, calm, and the game looked pretty slow.
Yeah. I mean, you hope that a guy with his level of experience kind of comes out and looks at least comfortable. So that's a good sign.
For sure. The backup quarterback competition in Miami, I think there is also one going on as well there. But we'd have to say Skylar Thompson wins it for now. I mean, neither guy was very good. Mike White was horrendous, though. Just 4 of 14, 26 yards. At least Thompson threw a touchdown, but he got dinged because he threw a pick as well. So, the rookie, Jalen Wright, led the game in rushing, 10 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Looked speedy, and I saw a tweet, I think it was during the game, that Dolphins, or maybe it was a takeaway after, that the Dolphins fans are like, man, we got another Devon A-Chain. Which, I mean, that was kind of the comp coming out anyways.
Yeah. I love the all Madden team they're doing, where they're just, hey, how many fast guys can we get like on the field at like one time? It's an amazing strategy until you hit like November, but we'll see. We'll see if they can overcome that this year.
Yeah, the goal for the Dolphins this year to not play in a minus 20-degree playoff game. Yep. Let's see what Carlos Washington Jr. He scored a touchdown for Atlanta. Their rookie running back Jason McClellan, he led them in rushing with 30 yards on 9 carries. Looked pretty good. Jeff Wilson also caught a touchdown from Skylar Thompson. The UFL man, my guy, former Defenders wide receiver Chris Blair, led the game in, or actually, no, I should say, he led the Falcons in receiving with 45 on 2 catches. But tight end Tanner Connor from Miami, he led the game in receiving, 3 catches, 70 yards on 4 targets. You know where Tanner Connor went to school?
No.
The amazing Idaho State.
Hey, nice.
Rookie safety Patrick McMorris, he led the game in tackles for the Dolphins, 8 tackles, 7 solos, 2 tackles for loss, and pass deflection. Really good debut for him out there. The Dolphins plus 2.5 covered, under 37.5. Eagles, this was a fun one. Low scoring affair, but 16-13 win for the Birds. And I liked it. I liked what I saw. Kenny Pickett looked very good. 14 of 22, 63.6%. Only 89 yards and a touchdown, though. But he was accurate and didn't make any mistakes. Didn't turn the ball over at all, so that was a plus. And the ending, this was probably the most entertaining ending to any of the games this week, even though there were a couple of close ones that had walk-off field goals as well. But, yeah, so the Eagles are tied with the Ravens, right? 13-13. There's about 20 seconds to go, and Jake Elliott misses his second kick of the night. He missed an extra point on the Eagles' first touchdown of the game. That cost me money, by the way. I had Eagles -0.5 in the first half live. But anyways, he missed the extra point early in the game. Comes back, misses the game-winning field goal. So there's 12 seconds left or whatever. Next play, the first play of the game for Emory Jones, rookie quarterback. I don't even know why the Ravens even put him out there for like 2 plays that he was going to play. But first play of the game for Emory Jones, Mr. Patrick Johnson comes in, excellent speed rush on the outside, strip sack, recovers the fumble, sets up the Eagles again from about the same distance. Jake Elliott nails it, and the Eagles go on to win. So it was awesome. It was awesome to watch. Especially because Jake Elliott made me my money back. Rookie running back Kendall Milton, what do you know? Another Georgia Bulldog running back. Go Dogs. 9 carries, 39 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. Led the game in rushing. Devin Leary, the 7th rounder for the Ravens. He had a rushing touchdown on the night. However, though, the Ravens have to be kind of concerned about the backup position. Josh Johnson looked like crap. He was horrendous. So bad. Just 4 of 12 for 62 yards and 2 carries for 11 yards. So maybe Devin Leary comes and gets it. I don't know. But it just was not a great night for Mr. Johnson there. Other touchdown, Lou Nichols. He scored for the Eagles. And how about Will Shipley, rookie out of Clemson, looked very good. Just 3.3 yards per carry, but I was impressed by how tough he was running in between the tackles. And he didn't get a lot of receiving work, which is what I thought he would be doing more for the Eagles. He would be more of the third down kind of back and compete with Kenny Gainwell for that position behind Saquon. He did catch 7-yard touchdown, but that was his only catch of the night. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed watching Shipley run. John Ross, how about the former first rounder, leading the game in receiving when there wasn't a lot to gain? 3 catches for 28 yards on 5 targets. That'll do it. And defensively, obviously, my player of the game is Patrick Johnson. Like I said, made the play of the game. 4 tackles, 2 solos, a sack, tackle for loss, forced fumble, and fumble recovery. But the Ravens' first-round pick, Nate Wiggins, had a really good night as well. 3 pass deflections and tackle for loss. Eagles covered by the hook, -2.5, under 36.5. Saturday, the first game here screwed me over. The Jets, 20-17 over the Commanders. And why there was no defense in this game, I don't know. Why the Jets had to just win the game at the end, I don't know. But the under would have hit had the Jets let it go to a tie. Just saying. But yeah, Adrian Martinez, the UFL MVP, looked really good. Completed 6 of 10, 60%, 104 yards, and ran the ball twice for 24 yards as well. We got our first look at number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels. Wasn't in there very long, but completed some good balls, 2 of 3 for 45 yards. And he ran a score in as well. That the Jets defense, by the way, early on was atrocious. I know they weren't playing their starters mostly, but it was very bad. Especially on the Daniels touchdown run. There's 2 guys that ran into each other, and that's why he got the corner.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was impressed. Sam Hartman, also his rookie debut. We had actually 4 rookie quarterbacks out of the 5 in this game. Kind of crazy. Andrew Peasley, rookie out of Wyoming, undrafted as well. And Martinez, I didn't know. They showed Martinez as a rookie. I didn't understand why he was considered a rookie because he had been with the Lions before. But I guess I don't know if he just didn't have enough time on a practice squad that he didn't accrue a season. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But another rookie, Braylon Allen, looked good. He looked really good. 6 carries, 54 yards on. Yeah. He was tough running, and the Washington defense couldn't stop him at all.
Yeah. Could be a really fun 1-2 punch there for the Jets.
And he caught a ball, negated by penalty. But that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see him catch the ball more because obviously Wisconsin doesn't throw to running backs.
It's coming. We'll get it this year.
On the other hand, Izzy Abanikanda wasn't that great. He did score a touchdown, but only 2.8 yards per carry. He's on the roster bubble. It depends, how many running backs are they going to keep. If they keep 4, Izzy's in. But, I mean, for roster purposes, I would only keep 3. You have your 2 drafted guys from this year. Obviously, Izzy drafted last year. But, yeah, I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one to watch. Brandon Smith, another UFL guy there, another, DC defender. Led the game in receiving, 2 catches, 70 yards on 2 targets. Caught a big 50-yarder from Martinez there. And then how about another rookie looking very good? Tight end Ben Sinnott for the Commanders. He was awesome. 3 catches, 57 yards on 3 targets. just run after the catch, tough to bring down, and soft hands as well. Like you see, caught all three of his targets. So Jason Brownlee, he caught a 12-yard touchdown from Andrew Peasley. That was just a teardrop by Peasley. I was super impressed by the ball placement for him. And he played well overall. 8 of 11, 73 and a touch. Defensively, there wasn't a lot of stats. I'm going to go with, another rookie here, undrafted. It's very surprised. I don't know if you were surprised as well. Leonard Taylor from Miami, undrafted with the Jets. 2 tackles, both of them solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. I don't know how 31 teams let him slip out of the draft.
Yeah, I think upside alone warranted a late round flyer for sure, but
The Jets plus 3.5. They went outright over 33.5. I had 34. I had 34.5. So I was covering until the Jets kicked the game winner. The Bears just absolutely destroyed the Bills, 33-6, and I don't even know if I can read this because it's so small on my screen. Gotta get the readers out. Caleb Williams making his debut, led the game in passing, 4 of 7, 95 yards, and a 13-yard carry. I still cannot tell from watching that throw to DeAndre Swift if it was a no look or not. It's from a weird angle, and I can't tell if that was a no look.
Either way, it's some sicko stuff. That's some nasty stuff.
But I'd rather talk about his throw. I don't remember who it was to, but his on the run, rolling right, and just firing it a little bit back across his body, but made it work and threw a strike to the wide receiver about, 20 yards down the field. Mm-hmm. It was just, that looked like vintage Caleb Williams from Oklahoma, USC.
Yeah, I mean, in his first action, he looked like it. He looked like he lived up to the hype. So, a lot of ball game left, but yeah, I mean, you see the arm talent, you see the special stuff that people talk about when they talk about him. So,
to be honest, though, can we get him a single-digit jersey?
That's what
I'm not a fan of the 18. I don't like. Peyton was really the only one that could pull that off, and I don't know, 18 is pretty high for me.
Yeah, I was saying I think he's more of a single-digit guy, but
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we can't really talk about the Bills much in this game because they suck. Josh Allen was all right, 2 of 3, 22 yards, but Mitch Trubisky was decent. He looked better than some other backups this weekend, but Shane Buechele was not good. Threw a pick 6, even on 60% completion. And one thing that is very concerning for Buffalo, they weren't really able to run the ball at all. Frank Gore was their leading rusher with 21 yards. Not Frank Gore Jr. Although Frank Gore did play with the Bills. Ian Wheeler, how about that? I think Florida A&M, I think was where he's out of, undrafted. Led the game in rushing, 5 carries, 45 yards, or 43 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Velus Jones Jr., yes, running back. Velus Jones Jr. He's trying to make the team switch positions. Didn't get any targets in the passing game, but he did score a rushing touchdown on his 6 carries for 34 yards. Obviously, Swift had that big, long reception. He actually led the game in receiving with that 1 catch. And, there's a bunch of players defensively because the Bills just were horrendous. And we're going to keep talking about rookies, so let's go to the Bears' last pick of their draft this year. Defensive end Austin Booker, just eating. Him and Daniel Hardy, both 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. And like I said, that Buechele pick 6, that went to linebacker Micah Baskerville for the Bears, who also threw in a pass deflection as well. Yeah, Booker, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I thought that was a good pick.
The Bears plus 3.5. They went outright. Over 37.5. Jimmy's Vikings. I told him they were going to have a chance to win this game. And, he didn't believe me. So 24-23 walk-off for my number one kicker in the draft this year. Will Reichard looked very good in his kicks in this game. His rookie teammate, J.J. McCarthy, looked pretty good as well. 11-17, 64.7, 188, 2 scores. I didn't see the interception. And then 2 carries for 18 yards as well. The only play I really remember is the beautiful throw he had to who was it? Tristan Jackson, the touchdown. Deep ball, excellent accuracy, and I was very impressed with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I saw the interception and it was bad, but I think what you're just gonna have to live with that. Like if you're the Vikings, and I think you're okay with living with that. This is a guy who, while he played at the highest levels of college football, wasn't asked to do a whole lot. So he's still trying to figure out what he can get away with. And the more reps he gets, the more he's able to do that. And you can see kind of the arm talent is there. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the more intriguing kind of young prospects to kind of look at and just see, okay, what can I get away with? What can't I get away with? What throws can I make?
Yeah, and I was surprised there hasn't been more buzz about JJ taking this job, because when you look at Sam Darnold, I mean, 4 of 8 for 59 yards, no scores. Well, he did get. Did they get a field goal on one of his? I think he had 2 drives. But yeah, I don't know. I think JJ definitely took a step forward toward that starting job. If we'll see what O'Connell wants to do. But Antonio Pierce said, though, that he is getting closer to naming a starter, and that next week's game is going to pretty much determine who's going to be their starter. And so Minshew started this one. I believe O'Connell is starting next week. So they'll get, 1 game apiece with the first team. But, I mean, it kind of looks like, in terms of stats, how it's been going throughout training camp. They've, what I've heard out of Raiders camp is that, like, you couldn't really tell a difference. No one has really separated themselves. And, I mean, if you want to put a separator out there, Minshew had a lesser completion percentage, but on more throws, but he had more yards on less completions, and he threw a touchdown. So do with that what you will, whatever. I do think it's gonna be Minshew. When it came into camp, I thought O'Connell had a little bit of a step ahead, just because it's year 2 of that system for him. But I mean, I think Minshew's the better player. So
I think he's the safer play to name your starter to at least week 1, just because he has more starting experience than Aiden O'Connell does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Let's see. Kenny Nwangwu for the Vikings led the game in rushing, 5 for 52 and a touchdown, 2 catches for 9 yards as well. Love seeing my guy Sincere McCormick do well out there, leading the Raiders in rushing. And, of course, another Georgia running back, Zamir White. Zeus scoring for the Raiders, hoping for a big year for him. Tristan Jackson, like I mentioned, he led the game in receiving, the lone 100-yard receiver this weekend. Tough to do in a preseason game, but caught 4 for 100 yards, a touchdown on 5 targets. You had Trent Sherfield Jr. catching a touchdown for Minnie as well, and DJ Turner scoring for the Raiders. Defensively, how about let's go with Vikings linebacker Bo Richter. Love my guy out of Navy. The midshipman, 6 tackles, 4 solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hit. Levi Drake Rodriguez, though, I love him too. Texas A&M Commerce, 7th rounder. Good showing for him. And the other first rounder for Minnesota also made it on the board there. He had a good day. Dallas Turner at sack, tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Minnesota +3 win outright over 39.5. Packers, here we go. 23-10 win over the Browns. And this was another team where the offense was just horrendous. Cleveland was, oh my God, they were so bad. Especially the first team. I understand Jameis, 4 of 5. That's good for 30 yards, though. And they didn't score on his one drive, I think it was. But yeah, it was just, I don't know if it was the Packers defense or if it was just the Browns offense, but they could not get much going most of the day.
Jeff Hafley, crown him now. Build the statue.
But your quarterback there, man, he looked pretty good. Short day for him, but completed both of his passes and had a 65-yard touchdown throw to Dontavian Wicks.
Yep. That was a beaut. Hopefully we get to see some more of that this coming season. I don't need to see him the rest of preseason. Like, I'm good now, Matt. We're good, like just.
Yeah, and the how about the backup? What do you think of the backup competition right now? I thought, Clifford and Pratt looked pretty similar. I would still go with Clifford. That's not just my Penn State bias, but that is, I think he, just experience-wise, obviously has a leg up right now anyways.
Yeah, I think second year in the system for Clifford, I think he struggled at the beginning of camp. I think he's leveled out since then. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they've kept 2 going into the season traditionally over the last couple of years. But before that, they've, kept 3. And I think that, Gutekunst loves his draft picks in general, and he's huge on developing, obviously, the quarterback position. So I wouldn't be surprised if they keep both guys going in to start this season this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if they didn't keep Pratt. Like, I think he's gone. I think someone would snatch him up. Because, again, it was just crazy. There's another guy that it was crazy, like, ended up in the 7th, right?
Yep.
6th, whatever. But most of us had him on day 2. Like, it's crazy how those quarterbacks fell. But yeah, I mentioned for the Browns that their offense wasn't that great. DTR, though, I was very impressed. Year 2, DTR looked very good. 14 of 18, led the game with 134 yards. Was accurate. His timing was good, and he made the right decisions. And he didn't get flustered like we saw when he started those couple games last year as a rookie. So I was very impressed by DTR, and we'll see if Cleveland also is in a situation where are they going to keep 3 or not. I was not impressed by Tyler Huntley. Good completion percentage, but that's an interesting quarterback situation there in Cleveland. Manuel Wilson, your guy, led the game in rushing. 13 carries, 67 yards, a touchdown. Big workload for a preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
John Kelly fumbled in this one. Grant Dubose. How about another rookie? Right? He's a rookie.
No, well, he's like a red shirt. So he was part of that three wide receiver class we had last year. But I think he had gotten hurt and just kind of ended up kind of on either IR or the practice squad kind of for most of the year. So we didn't really get to see him. This is our first action we're seeing of him. And Yeah, he had a good day.
He led the game in receiving, 5 for 66 on 6 targets. And then how about defensively? I'm going to go with the Packers. Lucas Van Ness. All 3 of his solos were tackles, sacked, 3 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, monster day.
Mm-hmm.
Packers plus 4.5 went outright under 39.5, which I had. Also had the under in this one. Bucks 17-14 win over the Bengals. Talk about another starting quarterback looking good, man. Joe Burrow. Excellent day. 5 of 7, 51 yards, threw a touchdown to T. Higgins. And yeah, Joey B looks back. I wish Jimmy was on here to talk about it because he gave the Bengals a very poor record this year. He said he doesn't believe in Joe Burrow. I'm like, bro, I do. They got Joe Burrow back. They're going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they keep him upright. He stays healthy. They're going to be good.
And that's the thing. He didn't get hit at all, I don't think. Baker didn't play in this one, so it was Kyle Trask got the start. Wasn't very impressive. Threw a pick, 60%, 144. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of offense in this game besides that first quarter where it was 7-7. But Jake Browning also threw a pick. So Logan Woodside, a touchdown for him. Sean Tucker led the game in rushing for the Bucks, 10 carries, 68 yards. This was the one, though, that I was like, holy crap, dude. The Bengals couldn't run the ball at all. They had 21 rushing yards, I think, in this game. It was absolutely horrendous. Chase Brown led them in rushing with 10 yards. So, obviously, Zach Moss didn't play. But I think it's very concerning for the Bengals fans. You're like, oh, well, we could throw the ball, but you got to run the ball at some point or else you become one-dimensional. So hopefully they can run that ball better next week. Bucky Irving, though, I was very happy. He scored. Looked pretty good out there. I'm excited for him in my Dynasty League. A couple of Dynasty Leagues I got him in, I think. And, yeah. Ramon Jefferson scored a touchdown for the Bucks as well. How about Jermaine Burton, the rookie, catching a long touchdown from Logan Woodside? 3 catches, 82 yards, a score on 4 targets. Yeah, I liked him. And hey, man, I mean, that was the play. Like, well, if Jermaine plays well, bye T. Like, why not? I don't know. I would get something. That's the thing that I don't understand about the Bengals situation. Like, you're gonna lose him. Why not, for one, take the money off of the cap, and for 2, get what you can for him while he's still on your team. Maybe it's a trade deadline kind of situation more, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like, the closer you get to the trade deadline, the less leverage you have and the less valuable he is to, another team because,
Right.
unless you do like a sign and trade. But yeah, I agree. Unless they feel like they will eventually come to a deal, which seems less and less likely. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and apparently, from what I've heard, is like the young receivers have looked pretty good. Yeshivas, Burton, and Irwin. Irwin also looks pretty good apparently in camp. So, yeah, I don't know. Mentioned T scored as well. How about defensively? I am going to go with Bengals defensive end Cedric Johnson, rookie out of Ole Miss. All 4 of his tackles solos, sack, tech for loss, 2 QB hits. Bucks plus 5.5, win outright under 38.5. I was scared. I was very scared for this game because it was at 31, right? And then I was like, no way, the Bengals are going to go down and score to win the game. And I had it at 38, not 38.5. So I was very concerned that it was going to push, but luckily Tampa's D stood up and stopped Cincinnati. I totally read this game wrong. I had the Chiefs winning. Jags 26-13 over the Chiefs. Carson Wentz, I didn't think he looked bad. Completed all 4 of his passes, but only for 26 yards. And that's the crazy thing. Like, the Chiefs only scored 13 points, but like all 4 of their quarterbacks that played had above 70% completion. So I don't know how they didn't score more points. But yeah, I mean, Mahomes wasn't out there very long, which was just a straight out lie by Andy Reid. He's like, yeah, our starters are going to play a quarter. Okay. One drive. So, yeah. I will never believe anything Andy Reid says ever again.
The trust is broken.
Yeah, I thought they were going to play a quarter, and that's why I picked the Chiefs. Anyway, Trevor Lawrence looked very good, though. 3 of 4, 42 yards, a touchdown to Travis Etienne, which was just a dirty route. I mean, angle route on the linebacker. I mean, it was sad for Drew Tranquil because he didn't have the leverage at all. He overran it because he had to get outside the slot receiver, and yeah, it wasn't great. But yeah, it's pretty good quarterback play all around in this game. CJ Beathard threw a touchdown. How about Mac Jones looking just great? 9 of 11 for 98 yards. I mean, yeah.
QB controversy in Jacksonville?
First rounder for a reason, right? All right. Dearness Johnson led the game in rushing for Jacksonville, 31 on 5 carries and a 23-yard reception. I loved watching my guy Carson Steele out there, rookie out of Ball State. Well, he played at Ball State. That's where he was the best. He wasn't that good at UCLA last year, but it's fine. 4 carries for 29 yards and a touchdown. I said Travis Etienne had that 9-yard receiving touchdown. How about former Packer leading the game in receiving? Tight end Josiah DeGuara for the Jags. 3 catches on 42 yards on 4 targets.
The GOAT, some say.
Devin Duvernay caught a 35-yard touchdown as well from CJ Beathard. Defensively, how about quite the day for Jags defense tackle Esezi Otomuwo. 3 tackles, 2 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. Jags minus 1.5 covered, under 39.5 by the hook. Titans 17-13 over the Niners. Yeah, Will Levis played in this game, and I was not watching this game early on, anyways. So I did not see. Actually, I don't think I watched any of this game. But yeah, Will Levis pretty solid. 35 yards, 4 of 5, a rushing touchdown as well. Malik Willis, I guess, was decent also. But most importantly, Josh Dobbs, I think, got the start. Brandon Allen played as well. And most importantly, the 49ers covered the spread. That's all I needed them to do. So that was a good day. But the duo of Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears apparently looked pretty good. Spears scoring a touchdown. And Jordan Mason was good for the Niners as well. He scored. Wide receiver Tay Martin led the game in receiving, 558 on 7 targets. And how about the day for second-year linebacker Chance Campbell for the Titans? Love my guy Chance Campbell out of Ole Miss. 9 tackles, 5 solos, a sack, tackle for loss, pass deflection, QB hit, and a pick. 49ers plus 5.5 covered, under 38.5. Seahawks. This was the game I was watching on. Yeah, it was quite the game to watch. These teams combined for 16 points in the first half. No points in the first, 16 in the third. And then there wasn't another score until the Seahawks kicked another field goal in the fourth quarter. Luckily, I had the under, which was great to watch. But yeah, this game was the offense was so bad, and there's a major question mark now in LA. Like they got to look at getting someone because Easton Stick was so bad. I mean, my God, 5 of 13 for 31 yards, a pick. Did have a 12-yard scramble, but I mean, it's not like Max Duggan was much better. And Luis Perez actually was probably the best quarterback out of all of them. And he just signed like last week, like a couple of days ago. So it was impressive to watch the king of spring football, Luis Perez, play well. But for Seattle and their backup situation, Sam Howell looked pretty good, though. 130 yards, touchdown, led 2 scoring drives, I believe, 1 touchdown and a field goal. So, yeah, he looks pretty good. PJ Walker did not look good at all for Seattle. So, luckily, they're only going to keep 2 quarterbacks. Another Georgia running back, Kenny McIntosh. Go Dogs! Led the game in rushing, 8 carries, 40 yards, 2 catches for 1 yard as well. George Halani, former Boise State running backs, he scored a touchdown. Former Seahawks draft pick, Derek Young, he led the game in receiving, 3 for 44 on 4 targets. Tight end Brady Russell, he caught the touchdown from Sam Howell on his 3 targets. And then defensively, I'm going to go with the top guy there, Chargers linebacker Nick Neiman, 12 tackles, 9 solos, a sack, tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Seahawks minus 3.5 covered, under 34.5. Very, very easily. Saints 16-14 over the Cardinals. Great walk-off win for New Orleans. Derek Carr, the first team offense for New Orleans was not good. 2 of 6 for Carr, just 12 yards. They could not get anything going. I think they played 2 drives. Yeah. And they weren't even playing against the Cardinals weren't playing their starters on defense. So not great in New Orleans. Derek Carr, though, he's like, yeah, well, we didn't game plan at all. So that's why we sucked. Like, all right, whatever. The rookies, though, looked pretty solid. Or I should say the rookie and second-year guy looked pretty solid, though. Spencer Rattler, obviously, he scored a rushing touchdown and led the Saints into field position to kick the game winner. So that was very inspiring for Saints fans to hopefully have that guy of the future. And I don't know, though. I don't know if this is settled yet for QB2. Like I said, Jake Haener played well also. So I think that's still a question mark going into preseason week 2 for the Saints. Desmond Ridder, though, kind of got to be worrisome for Cardinals fans that he wasn't that good. No points on his couple drives. So, you traded for him. Luckily, there's nothing to compare in the trade because Rondale Moore got hurt. So you win the trade by default right now because Desmond Ridder's still on the field. Michael Carter, he led the game in rushing, 7 for 41 and a touchdown. Tony Jones Jr., he caught a touchdown to give the Cardinals the lead before the Saints went down and won it. A.T. Perry, second year, Wake Forest, 6th rounder last year. Great game for him. 4 catches on all 4 of his targets and big day, 85 yards. I'm hoping he takes the next step because, Chris Olave has been begging for someone to help him out on the outside. And I liked Perry when they drafted him last year. Didn't get a lot of run, but I'm hoping he, elevates this year and pushes for more playing time there. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Cardinals linebacker Xavier Thomas, the rookie out of Clemson. 3 tackles, 2 solos, a sack, tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Really liked Thomas coming out of Clemson. Good motor on him. 5th rounder. Cardinals plus 2.5 covered by the hook, under 38.5. And on Sunday, we had 2 games yesterday. How about 64 points in Indianapolis yesterday? Crazy. The scoring just did not stop. And I was so happy with this game. I got to tell you, leading up to the draft, I was probably the biggest proponent of Bo Nix, and Bo Nix specifically to the Broncos, because I just thought it was the perfect match, and he played super well. 15 of 21, 125 yards, touchdown, 3 carries for 17 yards. I mean, I would give it to him. I know Steve Smith Sr. was like downplaying how well Nix played because he got more drives than Jarrett Stidham, and he wants them to reverse it next week, where Nix is going to start, by the way, and give Nix only a couple drives and Jarrett Stidham 5 drives. So, sure, I don't care. Like, Nix looked good, and if he can do it against the number ones for whoever they play, I don't even remember who they play this week. If he can do it against the ones for the Packers, then why not? He should be starting. You have anything on how Nix played in this one?
I didn't get a chance to watch him, but yeah, I heard he played well. I heard some good things. I think some cautious optimism, but I mean, it's preseason week 1. Why not buy your stock now? There's some guys you got to buy your stock now in, and you've planted your flag on the Bo Nix Denver experience, and I respect that.
Yeah, man. I don't even know how long it's been since I've been on the Bo Nix to Denver train. Probably Senior Bowl. It's probably been that long. It reminds you of Drew Brees. He really does. The accuracy. He's more athletic than Drew Brees, which is scary, really. When you think about it, Drew Brees really didn't run, and Bo Nix showed. And the Colts announcers, because it was NFL Network, so it was the local broadcast. So the Colts announcers, they were very impressed by his movement and his ability to run the ball. So, in terms of the other quarterbacks, like I said, Jarrett Stidham really wasn't that good. He threw a pick on his second drive, or his first drive, I think. But yeah, he was not that good. Zach Wilson, I was actually really impressed by Zach Wilson. He played well, very accurate, 117 yards. So again, new situation, new scenarios, changes. For the Colts, we got to see Anthony Richardson for the first time since his shoulder injury last year. Only played 1 series. There wasn't anything good or bad about it. It was 2 of 4 for 25 yards. So, Joe Flacco didn't play a lot either. Wasn't that impressive. The Colts played 5 quarterbacks this game. It's ridiculous. They just kept rolling through. Keaton Slovis or Sam Ellinger was the next guy, and he was actually pretty good despite his interception. Keaton Slovis showed off some arm talent in his little bit, and then Jason Bean, pretty good day for Bean, touchdown, although he did have a fumble. And Audric Estime, the rookie running back for the Broncos, he led the game in rushing, 31 yards on 10 carries, touchdown, and a fumble. 3 carries for 13 yards. I was impressed by undrafted running back Blake Watson out of Memphis. He looked very good, despite sub 3 yard per carry. Did score a touchdown as well. The Broncos were running the ball at will on this Colts defense. Very concerning for Indianapolis fans. Like, obviously, Buck wasn't playing out there, or Grover Stewart. But, dude, I mean, their backups got roasted on the ground. Every first down, I think the Broncos were running the ball and they were getting 5 or 6 yards. Tyler Beatty scored a touchdown for the Broncos as well. Evan Hull scored a touchdown for Indy. DJ Montgomery, he led the game in receiving 2 catches, 45 yards on 4 targets. Receiving touchdowns by Marvin Mims Jr. That one was from Bo Nix. And Laquan Treadwell caught a touchdown from Jason Bean as well. Defensively, how about the fumble return for a touchdown by rookie corner Micah Abraham for the Colts? 6 tackles, 3 solos, tackle for loss, and a 45-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Broncos plus 1.5, win outright over 39.5 easily. And this one was the opposite. 13-12 Rams over the Cowboys. And for what it's worth, man, I mean, Stetson Bennett played the entire game. And he threw 4 interceptions. However, he won the game. Like, he threw the game-winning touchdown. So, you know, I don't know what you want to say about it, but you got to live with it. And
he's just a winner. He's just a winner. Well, he gets wins.
Well, and he hasn't been on a football field in like a year. He ended the preseason last year and then left the team dealing with personal stuff. So he has not been on the football field for an entire year. And, you know, I think he had some good moments despite the 4 interceptions. But got to give credit, though, to the Rams defense. I mean, they stood up every time the Cowboys got in the red zone. 4 field goals for Dallas, and kept the team in the game, even though it's preseason. But you know, they kept them in it, and eventually the Rams offense got going and got the game winner. Cooper Rush, there's nothing really to talk about with him. He got 1 series, didn't do a lot with it. Trey Lance played the rest of the game and wasn't that impressive. The legs were. Obviously, he's a good runner, 44 yards on 6 carries. But, I mean, obviously, he's still super raw. And, yeah, I mean, good thing, though, for him and Dallas is he didn't turn the ball over. So it was the biggest thing I would take away from Lance's day, probably. Boston Scott had a big workload. 15 carries, 68 yards, lead the game in rushing. 3 catches for 10 yards as well. Super impressed by Jordan Whittington, rookie out of Texas. I loved him in the draft. Day 3. Got overshadowed by A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, but this guy's a big physical guy. 6 catches, 74 yards on 9 targets. Loved watching Whittington out there. Miller Forrestall, he caught the game winner from Stetson Bennett for LA. And defensively, let's go with Rams linebacker Zach Van Valkenburg. 3 tackles, all of them solos, a sack, tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Rams plus 5.5 win outright under 34.5. There is one breaking news item I'd like to talk about, and that is the Jets saga today. Jets edge rusher Hassan Reddick has requested a trade from the New York Jets. Hasn't been with the team the entire summer since his opening press conference when he was originally traded to the Jets from the Eagles, and he continues to be fined per the CBA, and the Jets apparently won't get a deal together unless he shows up. So Jets say that he's going to be a New York Jet. He's not getting traded, and you know they're going to focus on the players that are there at the moment. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you trade for somebody without like having, you know, some kind of assurances. I just don't know how something like this gets bungled because I don't know. It just feels pretty unprecedented. Like other team, that doesn't happen to other teams. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I don't really understand it. Like, you paid at the bare minimum a third round pick, right? It can become a second round pick if he has, whatever it was. But you're paying a third round pick for a guy, and how are you not planning on paying him like when you do the trade? Yeah. I understand the reasons why the Eagles traded him was because he's 30, and I understand that. But he's also a very good pass rusher. 4 straight seasons, I think it is, with at least 10 sacks. Like, he's a beast. And very worthy, I would say, of top of the market money. So, yeah, I don't know. Classic Jets.
Yeah, it's just there's not I don't know what else to say, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I thought it would have been intriguing though. Like, all right, so we paid a third for him. Can we get a third back? Is that what Joe Douglas is asking himself right now? He's like, oh, anyone want to throw a third out there for us? All right. College football news. Yes, it is college football season because the AP poll got released today. I'm not wearing their colors because I grew up a Penn State fan and we're talking Big Ten today. But go Dogs, baby! Number 1 team in the country. 46 first place votes out of 62. Very excited for the Dogs to win 3 out of 4. But yeah, I don't think there was many surprises in the top 25. I kind of was surprised. Oregon was 3. I was like, damn, that's a lot of respect and they got a first place vote.
Yeah.
Texas also very surprising at 4, I thought, anyways. I was all in on Texas last year, but they lost a ton. And we're doing the SEC on Friday, so we'll see how we actually feel about the Longhorns. But 4 was a bit high for me, I thought. I liked where my Penn State team is at 8. That was right around where every other poll had them, 8 or 9. Other than that, I don't think there was really a team that I was surprised that was in there. USC, actually. USC is probably the only surprising one of the entire 25. I know they're USC, but Miller Moss has a lot to prove, as I'll talk about today. Very happy my Miami Hurricanes there, who I was hyped about on the ACC preview, number 19. Love the love there. And in terms of any of the teams that are outside that got votes, I think probably the only one I would say that maybe should have been in over USC was I could see Iowa State. I liked Iowa State like we talked about last show. Wisconsin, 15 votes. There you go. UFL news, Michigan Panthers, they re-signed a couple guys today. Quarterback E.J. Perry, running back Toa Tawa, wide receiver Devin Ross, tight end Gunnar Oaks, long snapper Jordan Uber as well. A couple guys making it to the league. The Carolina Panthers signed Michigan Panthers defensive tackle Walter Palmore, big presence, going to help stuff the run beside Derek Brown as well. So hopefully he can make the roster. Jets, they signed defenders linebacker Anthony Hines III. The Dolphins, they signed Brahma's edge rusher Wyatt Ray. And a couple workouts to mention, the Jets and the Chargers, they both worked out Michigan Panthers linebacker Frank Ginda. We had a trade go down, another trade. The Browns getting center Nick Harris back. he had been with Cleveland, I think, before, and going back to Cleveland now. Swap of a 6th and a 7th round picks in the 2026 draft. So Cleveland getting some center depth there. I didn't really have much to talk about the trade. All right. NFL news here. The Steelers down a linebacker, Marcus Golden, retiring right before the first preseason game. I was like, damn, bro. Like, I was hoping for Marcus Golden to play well this year. Like, I think that was the plan, was like he was gonna be kind of the 3rd, 4th guy in the rotation with TJ and Alex Highsmith. But now your guy Nick Herbig, that's the guy that's got to step up. More reps for him.
Yeah. Yep. I think he's capable of it. Yeah, these early season kind of retirements, I think they're the most relatable for us as like fans. Just like, guy walks into his job and he's just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. So yeah.
I think the most funny ones are the ones that like guys know they're not going to make the team, so they're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
You didn't fire me. I quit.
Who retired in the locker room? Who was that? It was like a couple of years ago. They retired during the game, during halftime.
Yeah.
I think it was a Bills player.
Corner.
Yeah.
I forget.
He was somebody, like at one point. Yeah. Like it was a name.
Oh, is it Josh? What's his face?
It wasn't Josh Norman.
Oh, okay. It was earlier than that. Steelers, good news for them. Quarterback Russell Wilson expected to make his debut this week. So I'm very excited to watch. Danger Russ out there. Browns got good quarterback news as well. Quarterback Deshaun Watson cleared for contact. However, Coach Kevin Stefanski said not going to play this week. Not sure. I don't know if he's going to play at all in the preseason. We'll see if he gets in week 3. Steelers got other good news. Running back / kick returner Cordero Patterson activated off the NFI. So I'm really excited. I don't know if they're going to put him in next week or not, but I hope they do at some point this preseason just to see how he looks in that new kickoff. Also activated off the PUP, Giants, offensive tackle Evan Neal coming back from ankle surgery in the offseason. And big news for the Dolphins. Dolphins linebacker Jalen Phillips coming off the torn Achilles, 8.5 months removed from that. He is activated off the PUP, able to practice. Bad news for the Falcons. They placed rookie 3rd-round edge rusher Braylon Trice on IR. Torn ACL, done for the season. And it's a shame, man. I expected a lot from Braylon Trice. Liked him as a prospect coming out and went to a great situation in Atlanta because they were dying for edge rushers. And, sucks with the red shirt and come back next year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Other injuries, a lot of rookies got hurt this weekend. It's that welcome to the NFL. You're playing against a lot better competition than in college, and games moving a little too fast. But Steelers, rookie offensive tackle Troy Faltano, he has a minor MCL sprain. So hopefully, probably going to be out the rest of this preseason and be back week 1. That's the only good thing. Like, all these rookies got hurt. None major other than Braylon Trice. Packers, rookie running back Marshawn Lloyd, hamstring injury in his first appearance.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of that H word going around of recent vintage for the Packers.
49ers, big news for their secondary corner Ambry Thomas, broken forearm, out indefinitely. So, also, big news for the Chiefs. Wide receiver Hollywood Brown suffered a sternoclavicular or an SC joint dislocation might miss the start of the season, taken to the Jacksonville hospital because the SC joint dislocation is very dangerous. If it is dislocated and the clavicle or the collarbone goes inward, because if it goes inward, then it can tear some vital blood vessels there, and obviously bleed out, life-threatening stuff. So, good thing though he got checked, and he is back in Kansas City now. Giants rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors. This didn't happen in their preseason game because that was on Thursday, but did happen in practice. Minor ankle sprain, so good news for the Giants. It's just minor. Colts running back Trey Sermon. He also has a hamstring injury, taken out of yesterday's game. Ravens rookie corner Nate Wiggins, minor shoulder sprain, listed as day to day. And the Bengals got some news today. Rookie offensive tackle Amarius Mims, strained pec. He is out several weeks. Might miss the start of the season. Couple of releases. 49ers released tight end Logan Thomas, and the Eagles released linebacker Shaq Quarterman. Shaq Quarterman landed on his feet pretty quickly, though. Chargers signed him today. The Jags, they signed 49ers safety Tashawn Gibson to a one-year deal. He suspended the first 6 games, but going to play out the rest of the preseason here and then go on a vacation for 6 weeks. And the Eagles, they signed a Panther safety Caden Stearns. Couple visits, big names. Vikings hosting Cowboys corner Stephon Gilmore. Vikings looking for some veteran help at the corner position. The Falcons, they hosted Broncos safety Justin Simmons. Still cannot believe he's not signed yet. Has visited with both the Saints and the Falcons. So we'll see if he stays in the NFC South or not. And we'll leave that for next show. It's fine. All right. Big Ten season preview here. Michigan Wolverines 15-0, 9-0, national champions with an asterisk. Just saying. Might not be national champs in a couple months. Not just because Georgia's going to win the national championship, but because it's going to get taken away from you. All right, head coach Jim Harbaugh went to the 49ers. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy, drafted by the Vikings. Running back Blake Corum, drafted by the Rams. Wide receiver Roman Wilson, drafted by the Steelers. Wide receiver Cornelius Johnson, drafted by the Chargers. Tight end A.J. Barner, drafted by the Seahawks. Offensive tackle Carson Barnhart is on the Chargers. Guard Zach Zinter, drafted by the Browns. Guard Trente Jones. He actually retired. I think he got drafted and then retired, or undrafted and signed and then retired. He was with the Packers, right? I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Guard Trevor Keegan, drafted by the Eagles. Guard Ladarius Henderson with the Texans. Center Drake Nugent with the 49ers. Defense tackle Chris Jenkins, drafted by the Bengals. Edge rusher Jalen Harrell, drafted by the Titans. Edge rusher Braden McGregor on the Jets. Linebacker Junior Colson, drafted by the Chargers. Linebacker Michael Barrett, drafted by the Panthers. Corner Mike Sanderstill, drafted by the Commanders. Corner Josh Wallace is on the Rams. Defensive back Keon Saab went to Alabama. And kicker James Turner is gone as well. Lot of losses. Running back Donovan Edwards returns, though, as does his running mate Kalel Mullings. Tight end Colston Loveland. Offensive tackle Miles Hinton. Guard Giovanni El Hadi. Center Greg Crippen. Nose tackle Kenneth Grant. Edge rusher Josiah Stewart. Edge rusher Derek Moore. Linebacker Ernest Hausman. Corner Will Johnson. Safeties Makari Page and Quentin Johnson. And punter Tommy Doman. Additions and transfers. Head coach Sharon Moore comes in from being the offensive coordinator. Wide receiver C.J. Charleston from Youngstown State. Freshman wide receiver Emarian Stewart. Guard Josh Preby from Northwestern. Linebacker Jashawn Barham from Maryland. Corner Amir Hall from Albany. Corner Ricky Johnson from UNLV. Safety Wesley Walker from Louisville. Safety Jaden Mangum from Michigan State. And kicker Dominic Zavada from Arkansas State. So they really didn't get a lot of high quality transfers. Just saying. All right, Michigan here. I got them winning week 1 against Fresno State. I think they lose against. I know it's in the big house, but I don't know. Texas is a good team still. I mentioned they lost a lot, but I think Michigan lost a lot more. And the uncertainty at quarterback for Michigan is a big thing as well. So I'm going to give Texas the win, 1-1. They win against Arkansas State. They win against USC. I think they can win that one. They win at home against Minnesota. So 4-1. It's ridiculous. This is the craziest schedule I've seen. 5 straight home games to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
They get out of September without going anywhere. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
At Washington, I don't know. I'm going to talk about Washington later, but I'm going to give Michigan the win. So 5-1 going in the first bye. At Illinois, they win. Get the 6-1. They win against Michigan State 7-1. They lose against Oregon to get 7-2. At Indiana, I'm telling you, the Hoosiers going to be the sneaky Big Ten team this year with Kurt Cignetti at the helm. But I'm going to give Michigan the win to get to 8-2. Week 12 bye. They win against Northwestern, and I think they lose at Ohio State. So 9-3, and that is what they play 9. They play 8 games in the. No, they played 9. Okay, so 6-3 conference record. That ain't gonna make the Big Ten championship. No way, sorry.
Not this year.
What's that?
Yeah, we're lockstep again. You know, I had them at 9-3 too, and I think I had them same for all 3 losses there with Texas, Oregon, and OSU. I think they're just bound for some sort of regression. They lost too much talent, and they lost too much important talent. You know, new QB, new head coach. Like, it's bound for some of it. I think they'll still be a good team. I think they'll still be, 9-3 is a solid season, even if it doesn't live up to their expectations, maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a maximum of 2 losses in order to be in the college football playoff this year.
Yeah.
Maybe 3, though. I don't know, because of all these teams cannibalizing. I know you got to go, but do you want to just run through what you got for all the teams here?
Yeah, sure, dude. I'll give you the rundown. So, I have Oregon winning the Big Ten in their first year. I have them at 12-0. I just think they have a pretty favorable. What's that?
Go through an order of my list. Can you go through an order of my list?
Oh yeah, sure.
Otherwise, I gotta find them. And then...
So
Iowa. What do you got for Iowa?
Yeah, so Iowa, I have at 9-3. I think Kirk Ferentz just puts up some pretty scrappy teams. I think they'll have a good team, good winning season. Ohio State, I have at 11-1. I like their squad this year. I think they're going to be able to take advantage of a weaker Michigan this year. I also think they have a decently favorable schedule. Yeah. So let's see. Penn State, I have at 9-3. I think that they might struggle a little bit with the added talent, I think, in the Big Ten, but I think they're still one of those teams that, they just turn out solid squads. And I think that they're going to be able to battle their opponents pretty close. So, yeah, I have them at 9-3.
Northwestern?
Northwestern, I believe I have it 4-8. It's going to be really hard to compete. I mean, they were already towards the bottom of this conference, and it only got better this offseason. So,
hey man, they went 8-5 last year and finished second in the West.
Hey, look, man, I'm just calling it like I see it for this year.
Wisco.
Wisco, I have at 9-3. I think that in the second year of the Luke Fickell regime, I think we're going to see some improvement. But their schedule is pretty rough, especially that Alabama non-con game. So yeah, gonna go with 9-3 there for them.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not picking him to lose in the Big Ten championship game this year. Last year. Maryland.
Maryland, I have at. Where did I have Maryland at? Sorry, I got to find Maryland. I think I have them around the midway points, like 6-6. Yep. 5-7. 5-7 for Maryland. Like I said, it's just I think that for some of these teams, the conference getting better is just going to cause some problems, and there's going to be some tears for some of these teams, especially in year one. And I think Maryland's one of those teams that could struggle.
Rutgers is up next.
Rutgers, same kind of situation. I have them at 4-8. I think just kind of the talent disparity is going to be shown kind of a lot in some of these games.
Nebraska,
I have at 5-7. I was kind of surprised I had them this low, to be honest, because I like Matt Rule as a college coach. So I think he could be building towards something pretty good there in Lincoln. But I think they have a pretty tough schedule. Again, the conference is getting tougher. I think it could be a couple more seasons before we see that come to fruition there.
And freshman quarterback as well, Dylan Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue.
Purdue, I have last at 3-9, which is tough because I like Purdue, and they're usually kind of like an upset kind of scary team. And I think they could still be that. But yeah, I think just the talent disparity is going to be kind of shown.
Unfortunately, they go to Ohio State this year, not host.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Mini, I have at 4-8. I just think that I feel like, I don't know, I'm not the believer anymore in kind of the PJ Fleck regime.
Run boat, baby.
I think that it could be coming to kind of a natural conclusion just for both sides. But we'll see.
All right, Illinois.
The Illini, I have at 5-7. I've been pretty impressed with what Brett Bielema has been able to do there, for sure. He's been putting some guys in the league. He's had some competitive squads since going there. But yeah, I think they're going to struggle with the added talent in the conference.
Yeah, the last two returning Big Ten teams, new coaches, Michigan State and Indiana.
Michigan State I have at 6-6. I think just with, kind of the Mel Tucker kind of situation and everything like that, like I just think that, it's a tough path for them to like putting together like a winning season. I think they'll be kind of middle of the pack.
In Indiana?
And Indiana, I have at 5-7. 5-7. So I'm lower on them than you are this year. But I think they could be a scrappy 5-7. We'll call them.
All right, Washington.
Washington, I have at 7-5. I think they're another team that lost a bunch of talent, obviously. Lost their head coach, bound for some regression. I still think that they have enough talent on their squad to be competitive. But again, in a really tough conference like this, being competitive and losing all that talent is probably going to get you towards like 7-5. So,
dude, they had a monster transfer class. Oregon.
Oregon I had at 12-0. I was kind of surprised just because I think like for some of these Pac-12 teams, I think it's going to be quite an adjustment, to be honest, especially just like going up against some of these Big Ten defenses compared to the defenses they faced in the Pac-12. With that said, like I think Oregon is very talented. I think they got the right pieces in the transfer portal. I'm really impressed with what Dan Lanning's doing, and I think their schedule shakes out kind of in their favor. So yeah, I expect big things from the Ducks this year.
USC.
USC, I have at 7-5. Um, I think that I think this is a program that like expected too much out of obviously just like transplanting Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams. I think they underestimated just how much work needs to go into getting USC back to where they're kind of expected to be on this kind of blue blood pedestal. And I think that work's going to continue to have to be done. Like this year, next year, I don't think they're just automatically going to be this crazy powerhouse that, you know, wins 11 games every year. And like I said, I think they're one of those teams that is going to really struggle when they face some of these Big Ten defenses.
And lastly, UCLA.
UCLA, I believe I also had at 7-5 for a lot of the same reasons. Just, you know, I think, you know, they have some talent. I think they have the potential to be a good squad, but I think that the change from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten is going to be tough initially. And yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of an adjustment period.
Yeah, new head coach there as well, Deshaun Foster.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man.
All right, dude.
I will continue.
Sounds good. Have a good one, dude.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back to Iowa. Our guy Colin Schultz is Iowa. Lost his quarterback Deacon Hill went to Utah Tech. Quarterback Spencer Petras to Utah State. Wide receiver Nico Reganey is gone. Tight end Eric All, drafted by the Bengals. Offensive tackle Caden Proctor went to Alabama. Defensive tackle Logan Lee, drafted by the Steelers. Edge rusher Joe Evans is on the Ravens. Corner Cooper DeJean, drafted by the Eagles. Punter Torrey Taylor, drafted by the Bears. Returning for the Hawkeyes, quarterback Cade McNamara. Running backs LaShawn Williams, Caleb Johnson, Jazian Patterson. Wide receivers Caleb Brown, Seth Anderson. Tight ends Addison Ostrenga, Luke Lachey. Offensive tackle Mason Richmond. Offensive tackle Jennings Dunker. Guards Bo Stevens and Connor Colby. Center Logan Jones. Defensive tackle Yaya Black. Linebackers Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson. Corner Jamari Harris. Defensive back Sebastian Castro. Safety Quinn Schultz. And punter Ty Neeson. And kicker Drew Stevens, all back. Kirk Ferentz did not go into the portal at all. Quarterback Brendan Sullivan they got from Northwestern, and punter Reese Dakin, freshman, coming in. So yeah, very little transfers for the Hawkeyes. Let's see what we got record-wise. Logan's at 9-3, 10-4 last year, 7-2 in conference. They finished as the runner-up in the Big Ten championship, first place in the West. Obviously, West and East doesn't matter anymore. There are no divisions anymore in the Big Ten. So they win week 1 against Illinois State. They lose, though, week 2 against Iowa State. They win week 3 against Troy, so 2-1 at Minnesota. I'm going 3-1 there into the week 5 bye. They lose at Ohio State 3-2. They lose at home against Washington 3-4. They win at Michigan State to get to 4-4. They win against Northwestern to get to 5-4. They lose at home against Wisconsin to get to 5-5. At UCLA, I think they win. That's on a Friday night, so weird timing, but I think they can win that one to get to 6 and I had win, loss, win, win. So 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 4-3, 5-3, 5-4, So 6-4 into the week 12 bye at Maryland. I think they win. That gets them to 7-4, and then they win at home against Nebraska on a Friday. 8-4 for me for the Hawkeyes, and that is 6-3, I believe, in conference. They lose Wisconsin, Washington, and Ohio State. Let's go to the Buckeyes. 11-2 last year, 8-1 in conference, finished second in the East. Lost quarterback Kyle McCord to Syracuse. Running back Mayan Williams is gone. Running back Chip Trayanum went to Kentucky. Running back Dallin Hayden to Colorado. Wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. drafted by the Cardinals. Wide receiver Xavier Johnson is on the Bills. Wide receiver Julian Fleming went to Penn State. Tight end Cade Stover drafted by the Texans. Guard Matthew Jones is on the Dolphins. Defense tackle Mike Hall Jr. drafted by the Browns. Linebacker Tommy Eichenberg drafted by the Raiders. Linebacker Steele Chambers is on the Patriots. Safety Josh Proctor is on the Jaguars. Safety Jahad Carter went to NC State. And punter Jesse Mirko went to Vanderbilt. Returning for Ohio State, quarterback Devin Brown, running back Travion Henderson, wide receivers Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, offensive tackles Josh Simmons and Josh Fryer, guard Donovan Jackson, defense tackle Tyleek Williams, edge rushers Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau, linebacker Cody Simon, corners Davison Igbinosun, Denzel Burke, and Jordan Hancock, kicker Jaden Fielding as well. And Ohio State did excellent in the transfer class. Quarterback Will Howard from Kansas State, quarterback Julian Sayin from Alabama, running back Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss, freshman wide receivers Jeremiah Smith and Mylan Graham, center Seth McLaughlin from Alabama, safety Caleb Downs from Alabama, safety Keenan Nelson Jr. from South Carolina, punter Anthony Vanieri from Buffalo, and freshman punter Nick McClarty as well. So I hate to do it, but I think they're going to be pretty good. They win at home against Akron. They win at home against Western Michigan. Early week 3 bye. Both their byes are pretty early, actually. Week 3 and week 9. They win at home against Marshall to get to 3-0. Win at Michigan State 4-0. Win at home against Iowa 5-0. They lose at Oregon 5-1 into the week 8 bye. Week 8 bye. So even earlier than week 9, like I said. Then they win at home against Nebraska 6-1. They lose at Penn State 6-2. I will not have Penn State lose to Ohio State ever. I will never pick that. 6-2. They win at home against Purdue to get to 7-2. Win at Northwestern 8-2. Win at home against Indiana 9-2, and win at home against Michigan 10-2 for me in Ohio State. And 7-2 in conference. Oregon and Penn State losses. Penn State here. Losses. Wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith went to Auburn. Wide receiver Dante Cephas went to Kansas State. Wide receiver Malik McClain went to Arizona State. Tight end Theo Johnson drafted by the Giants. Tight end offensive tackle Olumiwa Fashanu drafted by the Jets. Offensive tackle Caden Wallace drafted by the Patriots. Offensive lineman Hunter Norzad drafted by the Chiefs. Edge rusher Chop Robinson drafted by the Dolphins. Edge rusher Adisa Isaac drafted by the Ravens. Linebacker Curtis Jacobs is on the Chiefs. Corner Daquan Hardy drafted by the Bills. Corner Kalen King drafted by the Packers. Corner Johnny Dixon is gone. Safety Keaton Ellis is on the Titans. And kicker Alex Falcon's gone as well. Returning, quarterbacks Drew Aller and Bo Prebula. Running backs Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. Tight end Tyler Warren. Offensive tackle Drew Shelton. Guard Sal Wormley. Center Nick Dawkins. Edge rusher Abdul Carter. Linebacker Dominic DeLuca. Corner Jalen Reed. Safety Kevin Winston Jr. Punter Riley Thompson. And kicker Sanders Sahedek. Didn't do a lot in the transfer portal, but I was happy with what they did get. Wide receiver Julian Fleming comes in from Ohio State. Offensive tackle Nolan Rucci from Wisconsin. Freshman center Cooper Cousins. Corner AJ Harris they got from Georgia. Corner Jalen Kimber from Florida. And kicker Jason Meyer from Louisiana Tech. So Logan had them 9-3, 10-3 last year, 7-2 in conference, finished third in the East. Let's see what I got here. They win at West Virginia week 1. They win at home against Bowling Green week 2. Early buys, they got the same buy schedule as Ohio State. So week 3 buy, they win at home against Kent State to get to 3-0. They win at home against Illinois to get to 4-0. They win at home against UCLA to get to 5-0. At USC, I think they're good enough defensively to win that one. So 6-0 going into the second week, 8 bye. At Wisconsin, that's a tough game. I think they're going to drop that one probably to get to 6-1. They win at home against Ohio State to get to 7-1. They lose. Actually, no. I like them to win that one because it's in Happy Valley. 8-1. They win at Purdue to go to 9-1. At Minnesota to get to 10-1. 11-1. They win against Maryland. 11-1, and that is 8-1 in conference. And it's a pretty good schedule. I think the USC game and the Wisconsin, those are the toughest road games, except for West Virginia early on, which is fine if they lose that one as well. They're still a playoff team, I think, in my mind, despite Logan's 9-3 record, dissing my Nittany Lions. All right, Northwestern. Like I said, David Braun did a great job last year. 8-5, 5-2, and 5-4 in conference. Finished second in the West to Iowa. Quarterback Ben Bryant is gone. Quarterback Brendan Sullivan went to Iowa. Running back Anthony Tyus III went to Ohio. Wide receiver Cam Johnson is on the Cowboys. Linebacker Bryce Gallagher is gone. Corner Garnett Hollis Jr. went to West Virginia. Safety Rod Hurd II went to Notre Dame. And safety Jaheim Joseph went to West Virginia as well. Returning for the Wildcats, running backs Cam Porter and Joseph Hyman II. Wide receivers Bryce Kurtz and A.J. Henning. Offensive tackle Caleb Tiernan. Guard Josh Thompson. Edge rushers Aiden Hubbard, Anto Saka, and Sean McLaughlin. Linebacker Xander Mueller. Corner Tyron Johnson. Safety Devin Turner. Punter Hunter Renner. And kicker Jack Olson. Another team that really didn't do a ton in the portal, but they got quarterback Mike Wright from Mississippi State, offensive tackle Matt Keeler from Texas Tech, offensive tackle Cooper Lovelace from USC, center Jack Bailey from Colorado, and linebacker Nigel Glover from Ohio State. So, Wildcats schedule here. They win at home against Miami, Ohio. I'm not that high on Duke this year. And it's on a Friday night. So I'm going to give the Wildcats the win 2-0. 3-0, they win at home against Eastern Illinois. They lose at Washington to get to 3-1 into the week 5 bye. I'm going to have them lose against Indiana 3-2 at Maryland. Maryland's a tough team. It's also on a Friday night, so 3-3. They lose at home against Wisconsin 3-4. At Iowa, they lose to get to 3-5. They win at Purdue, though, to get to 4-5 into the week 11 bye. They lose at home against Ohio State 4-6, at Michigan 4-7, and then they lose at home against Illinois 4-8. So yeah, tough end of the season for Illinois or for Northwestern, that 3-game stretch there. But it starts off pretty well there, and so I am on the same page as Logan with 4-8, and the only wins in conference, I have them beating Purdue, I think is the only win I had in conference. Yeah. So 1-8 in conference. Let's go to Wisconsin. Logan's Badgers. See it, I'm going 9-3. They finished 7-6 last year, 5-4, third in the West. Quarterback Tanner Mordecai is on the 49ers. Quarterback Nick Evers went to UConn. Running back Braylon Allen, drafted by the Jets. Wide receiver Shamir Dike went to Florida. Wide receiver Skylar Bell went to UConn. Center Tanner Bordolini, drafted by the Colts. Linebacker Mayama Njongmeta is on the Bengals. Linebacker Jordan Turner went to Michigan State. Linebacker CJ Goetz is gone, as is corner Alexander Smith. And long snapper Peter Bowden is on the Packers. Returning for the Badgers, quarterback Braden Locke, running backs Jackson Acker and Ches Malusi, wide receivers Will Pauling and Bryson Green and CJ Williams, offensive tackles Jack Nelson and Riley Mallman, guard Joe Huber, center Jake Renfro, edge rusher Daryl Peterson, linebacker Jake Chaney, corner Ricardo Hallman, safety Hunter Wohler, and kicker Nathaniel Vakos. In the portal, they got some good players. Quarterback Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, running back Tawee Walker from Oklahoma, freshman offensive tackle Kevin Haywood, offensive tackle Leighton Nelson from Vanderbilt, edge rusher John Pius from William & Mary, edge rusher Leon Lowry from Syracuse, linebacker Jaheim Thomas from Arkansas, linebacker Tackett Curtis from USC, corner RJ Delancey III from Toledo, and long snapper Kason Pfeiffer from Cincinnati. So 9-3 for Logan. Let's see what we got here. For me, they win at home against Western Michigan on a Friday night, week 1. They win at home against South Dakota, week 2. They lose at home against Alabama, though, 2-1 into the week 4 bye at USC. Think they can win that one to get to 3-1. They win at home against Purdue to get to 4-1. They win at Rutgers 5-1, at Northwestern 6-1. I had them beating Penn State, so 7-1. And then I had Iowa. I had Iowa losing this game. So 9-1 into the week 11 bye. They lose at home against Oregon to get to 9-2. At Nebraska, they win to get to. Yeah. So I have them going 10-2, actually. Yeah, losses against Alabama and Oregon. 10-2. That's 8-1 in conference. Schedule's very nice for Wisconsin. All right, on to the Terrapins. Maryland, 8-5 last year, 4-5 in conference, 4th in the East. Quarterback Talia Tagovailoa is on the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL. Running back Antwain Littleton went to Temple. Wide receiver Ja'Shawn Jones is on the Vikings. Tight end Corey Dyches went to Cal. Offensive tackle DJ Glaze drafted by the Raiders. Guard Gottlieb Aidze is gone. Linebacker Fanaje Gote went to Auburn. Corner Tarheeb Still drafted by the Chargers. Corner Jaquan Shepard is on the Raiders, and safety Bo Braid is on the Ravens. Returning for the Terps, running backs Roman Hemby and Colby McDonald. Wide receivers Ty Felton and Caden Prather. Guard Kyle Long. Linebacker Ruben Hypolite II. Linebacker Kellen Wyatt. Linebacker Caleb Wheatland. Corner Glendon Miller. Safety Dante Trader Jr. Punter Brendan Segovia. And kicker Jack Howard. In the portal, though, they got a quarterback, MJ Morris from NC State. Offensive tackle Isaiah Wright from Buffalo. Offensive tackle Alan Heron from Shorter. Guard Alu Ba from Georgia. Center Josh Kaltenberger from Purdue. Corner Jalen Husky from Bowling Green. Punter Bryce McPherson from Notre Dame. And kicker Gavin Marshall from Oklahoma. So for the Terps, Logan had them 5-7. They win at home against UConn week 1. Win at home against Michigan State week 2. At Virginia. Actually, I'm going to have them lose against Michigan State. Win at Virginia to get to 2-1. They win at home against Villanova to get to 3-1. They lose at Indiana to get to 3-2 into the week 6 bye. They win at home against Northwestern because it's on a Friday. Get to 4-2. They lose at home against USC, 4-3. At Minnesota, 4-4 into the week 10 bye. 4-5 because they lose at Oregon. They win at home against Rutgers, though, to get to 5-5. They, however, lose out at home against Iowa, 5-7. 5-6 at Penn State, 5-7. I am on the same page as Logan. 5-7, and so they beat Rutgers, Northwestern, And that is it. Yeah. So 2-6 or 2-7 in conference play. All right, let's go to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. 7-6 last year, 3-6 in conference, finished 5th in the East. Quarterback Gavin Wimsatt went to Kentucky. Quarterback Evan Simon went to Temple. Running back Aaron Young went to Old Dominion. Wide receiver Jaquay Jackson is on the Patriots. Wide receiver Isaiah Washington is on the Ravens. Tight end Johnny Langan is gone. Linebacker Deion Jennings is on the Ravens. Corner Max Melton drafted by the Cardinals. They return running backs Kyle Monangai, Samuel Brown the fifth. Wide receivers Christian Dremel and Ian Strong. Offensive tackles Holland Pierce, Tyler Needham. Guard Brian Felter. Center Gus Zielinskis. Edge rusher Wesley Bailey. Linebacker Mohamed Toure. Corners Desmond Igbinosin, Robert Longerbeam, and Eric Rogers. Safeties Flip Dixon and Shaquan Loyal. And kicker Jai Patel. In the portal, they got a couple guys. Quarterback Ethan Kaliak-Manis from Minnesota. Wide receiver Demir Miller from Monmouth. Offensive tackle Shedrick Rhodes Jr. from Ohio. Defensive tackle Malcolm Ray from Florida State. And freshman punter Jacob Anderson. So Logan had him at 4-8. I have him winning at home against Howard on a Thursday, week 1. They win at home against Akron, get to 2-0 into the early week 3 bye. They lose at Virginia Tech to get to 2-1. They lose at home against Washington on a Friday night, 2-2. At Nebraska, I'm going to have them losing that one, 2-3. 2-4, they lose at home against Wisconsin. I think they can beat UCLA because that's the longest trip anyone has to make is Cali to New Jersey. So I'm going to have them upsetting UCLA 3-4. They go out to USC, though, the next week on a Friday night. They lose that one 3-5. Week 10 bye. They lose at home against Minnesota 3-6 at Maryland. I had them losing that one 3-6 or 3-7, I should say. At home against Illinois 3-8, and then at Michigan State, I'm gonna have them going 3-9. Actually, that's a tough schedule by a bunch of mid-range teams there. And the road games do not favor Rutgers. 3-9, and their only win is UCLA. So 1-8 in conference. Let's go to the Cornhuskers, Nebraska. Year 2 of Matt Rule, 5-7 in his first season, 3-6 in conference, finished 4th in the West. Quarterback Chuba Purdy went to Nevada. Quarterback Jeff Sims to Arizona State. Running back Anthony Grant is gone, as is wide receiver Billy Kemp the fourth, and wide receiver Marcus Washington. Linebacker Luke Reimer is gone. Corner Quentin Newsome and safety Omar Brown. They are both on the Broncos. Returning quite a bit for Nebraska. Quarterback Heinrich Harburg. Running back Emmett Johnson. Wide receivers Jalen Lloyd and Alex Bullock. Tight end Thomas Fidone II. Offensive tackles Teddy Prochaska and Bryce Benhart. Guard Turner Corcoran. Center Ben Scott. Nose tackle Nash Hutmacher. Defensive ends Jamari Butler and Ty Robinson. Linebackers Javen Wright and John Bullock. Corners Tommy Hill and Malcolm Hartzog Jr. Safety Isaac Gifford. Punter Brian Buschini. And kicker Tristan Alvano. In the transfer portal, and freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola. Everyone wants to see him this year. See how he does. Highly recruited, 5-star. Wide receiver Jamal Banks comes in from Wake Forest. Wide receiver Isaiah Nair from Texas. Freshman wide receiver Ja'Cory Barney Jr. Guard Micah Meskua from Florida. Linebacker Stephon Thompson from Syracuse. Corner Bly Hill from St. Francis. Corner Mario Buford, freshman. Freshman punter Camden Cook. And freshman kicker Nico Otomanelli. Nebraska, 5-7 for Logan. I got them winning at home against UTEP week 1. They win at home against Colorado week 2 as well. Win at home against Northern Illinois 3-0. I think they beat Illinois on a Friday night in Lincoln 4-0. At Purdue 5-0. I had them beating Rutgers, so 6-0 into the week 7 bye. They lose at Iowa, at Indiana, and at Ohio State to get to 6-2. They win at home against UCLA to get to 7-2 into the week 11 bye. At USC, though, 7-3. At home against Wisconsin, 7-4. At Iowa on a Friday night, 7-5. So I am on the winning side of Logan's 5-7. And losses, I had Iowa, Wisconsin, USC, Ohio State, Indiana. So all 5 of their losses in conference. So that means 4-5 conference record. Much improved. I'm excited about the freshman this year, Dylan Raiola. All right, on to the Purdue Boilermakers here. 4-8 last year, 3-6, finished 5th in the West. Running back Tyrone Tracy Jr., drafted by the Giants. Running back Dylan Downing went to Miami, Ohio. Wide receiver Deion Burks to Oklahoma. Wide receiver TJ Sheffield to UConn. Wide receiver Abdur Rahman Yassin went to USF. Tight end Garrett Miller went to Texas A&M, as did defensive lineman Nick Scourton. Defensive back Marquise Wilson is gone, as safety Sanosi Kane, drafted by the Ravens. Safety Cam Allen is on the Broncos. They return quarterback Hudson Card, running back Devin Mockabee, tight end Max Clare, offensive tackle Marcus Embo, guard Mohamed Musa, center Gus Hartwig, linebackers Kydron Jenkins and Yanni Karloftis, corner Markevius Brown, safety Dylan Tieneman, kicker Ben Freehill. In the portal and additions, freshman quarterback Marcos Davila, running back Reggie Love III comes in from Illinois, wide receiver CJ Smith from Georgia, wide receiver Denylon Morissette from Georgia, wide receiver Cam Brown from UCLA, off the tackle Corey Stewart from Ball State, off the tackle Joshua Sales Jr. from Indiana, guard DJ Wingfield from New Mexico, guard Joey Tanona from Notre Dame, edge rusher CJ Madden from Georgia, edge rusher Sheeta Sela from Boston College, edge rusher Jaire Ojada from Franklin College, corner Nyland Green from Georgia, corner Kendrick Breedlove from Colorado, safety Sterling Smith from Holy Cross, punter Keelan Crimmins from Mississippi State, and freshman kicker Spencer Porath. So, Logan, I'm going 3-9. And let's see what I have for them here. Okay, so they win at home against Indiana State, and it's crazy. Week 2 bye is just ridiculous. So week 2 bye, they win at home. They're 1-0. They lose at home against Notre Dame, though, to get to 1-1. Oregon State, they're not that good. They lost a lot of pieces with Jonathan Smith leaving. So I'm going to have them winning at Oregon State. It's a tough place to play in Corvallis, but I think they can win it with what they have the experience with Hudson Card. 2-1. I had them losing against Nebraska to get to 2-2. They lose at Wisconsin 2-3. At Illinois, I think they lose as well 2-4. They lose at home against Oregon on a Friday night 2-5 into the week 9 bye. They beat Northwestern though to get to 3-5. They lose at Ohio State 3-6, at home against Penn State 3-7, at Michigan State 3-8 on a Friday night, at Indiana 3-9. I agree with Logan, 3-9, and they beat Northwestern is their only conference win, so 1-8 in conference play. On to the Minnesota Golden Gophers. 6-7 last year under PJ Fleck, 3-6 in conference, 6th in the West. Quarterback Ethan Kaliak-Manis went to Rutgers. Running back Sean Tyler is gone. Wide receiver Corey Crooms Jr. is on the Cowboys. Wide receiver Chris Altman-Bell is gone. Tight end Brevin Spanford is on the Cowboys. Defensive tackle Kyler Ball is on the Saints. Defensive back Trayvon Jones is gone. Safety Tyler Newbin drafted by the Giants. Returning for the Gophers, running backs Darius Taylor and Jordan Newman, wide receiver Daniel Jackson, offensive tackle Ariante Ursary, guards Tyler Cooper and Quinn Carroll, edge rushers Ja Joyner and Danny Strigo, linebackers Maverick Baranowski, Devin Williams, corners Jack Henderson and Justin Wally, punter Mark Crawford, and kicker Dragan Kesic. In the portal, they got their next quarterback, Max Brosmer from New Hampshire. Freshman quarterback Gabe Lindsey comes in as well. Running back C.A. Bangura from Ohio. Running back Marcus Major from Oklahoma. Wide receiver Tyler Williams from Georgia. Wide receiver Christian Driver from Penn State. Offensive tackle Aluma Nkele from UTEP. Edge rusher Jackson Howard from LSU. And corner Ethan Robinson from Bucknell. Logan has the Gophers going 4-8. And I have them losing at home against North Carolina on a Thursday to start the season. So they lose that one. They beat Rhode Island, though. They beat Nevada to get to 2-1. They lose at home against Iowa, 2-2. They lose at Michigan, 2-3. I think they beat USC because it's in Minneapolis. So 3-3. At UCLA, though, I think they lose on the road 3-4. Into the week 8 bye or late bye for them. I have them beating Maryland. Yeah, so 3-4, right? 3-4. And then so 4-4 at Illinois, they lose to get to 4-5. I had them beating Rutgers, I believe, to get to 5-5 into the week 12 bye. They lose at home against Penn State, 5-6, 5-7 because they lose at Wisconsin on a Friday, 5-7, right along the same lines as Logan's 4-8. And conference wins against I think they're 2-6 in conference, or 3-6 because they beat Maryland, USC, and Rutgers. So 3-6 in conference once again. All right, let's go to the Illini. Illinois, 5-7 last year, 3-6 in conference, 7th in the West. Quarterback John Paddock is on the Falcons. Running back Reggie Love III went to Purdue. Wide receiver Casey Washington drafted by the Falcons. Wide receiver Isaiah Williams is on the Lions. Tight end Tip Ryman drafted by the Cardinals. Tight end Griffin Moore went to Texas State. Offensive tackle Julian Pearl drafted by the Ravens. Guard Isaiah Adams drafted by the Cardinals. Defensive tackle Jerzon Newton drafted by the Commanders. Defensive tackle Keith Randolph Jr. is on the Bears. Defensive back Tavian Nicholson went to Louisville. Defensive back Zachary Tobe went to Georgia Tech. Safety Nicario Harper is on the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL, and kicker Caleb Griffin is gone. They return quarterback Luke Altmaier, running back Caden Fagan, wide receiver Pat Bryant, offensive tackle Josh Geske, guard Zy Chrysler, center Josh Kreutz, edge rushers Seth Coleman and Gabe Jackus, linebacker Dylan Rosiek, corner Xavier Scott, safety Miles Scott, and punter Hugh Robertson. They got wide receiver Zachary Franklin from Ole Miss in the portal. Wide receiver Mario Sanders II from Iowa Central Community College. Wide receiver Michael Bartolotta from Iowa Central Community College. Tight end Cole Rusk from Murray State. Offensive tackle J.C. Davis from New Mexico. Offensive tackle Melvin Priestley from Georgia. Guard Kevin Wigginton II from Michigan State. Nose tackle Enos Sledge from Auburn. Defensive tackle Dennis Briggs Jr. from Florida State. Defensive tackle Gentle Hunt from Florida A&M. Edge rusher Daniel Brown from Hutchinson Community College. Corner Terrence Brooks from Texas. Corner Torrey Cox Jr. from Ohio. And corner Chase Canada from Trinity Valley Community College. 5-7 for Logan. I have them winning at home against Eastern Illinois on a Thursday to start the year off. They lose at home against Kansas, though. They win at home against Central Michigan to get to 2-1. I have them losing at Nebraska on a Friday, 2-2 to start off. They lose at Penn State 2-3 in the week 6 bye. They beat Purdue though, get to 3-3. They lose at home against Michigan and at Oregon, get to 3-5. I had them winning against Minnesota, 4-5 into the Week 11 bye. I think they win at home against Michigan State, 5-5. They win at Rutgers, 6-5, and 7-5 at Northwestern. They win as well. So 7-5 for me for the Illini. And that is lone losses in conference come from Penn State, Michigan, Oregon, Nebraska as well, I believe. Yeah. So, yeah, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, and Nebraska. So 5-4 in conference. On to the Spartans, Michigan State, one of a couple of teams that has new head coach in the Big Ten this year. So 4-8 last year, 2-7 in conference, 6th in the East. Quarterback Caton Hauser went to East Carolina. Quarterback Noah Kim went to Coastal Carolina. Running back Jalen Berger went to UCLA. Running back Jaron Mangum to Minnesota. Wide receiver Trey Mosley is on the Bengals. Wide receiver Christian Fitzpatrick went to Marshall. Tight end Malik Carr went to Houston. Center Nick Samick is drafted by the Ravens. Linebacker Aaron Brule is gone. Defensive back Jaden Mangum went to Michigan. The Sparty returns running back Nate Carter, wide receivers Montori Foster Jr. and Jaron Glover, off to tackle Brandon Baldwin, linebacker Cal Halliday and Jordan Hall, corner Malik Spencer, safeties Angelo Gross and Dylan Tatum, and kicker Jonathan Kim. And, of course, coaching change, massive transfer class. Head coach Jonathan Smith comes in from Oregon State. He brought quarterback Aiden Childs with him. Quarterback Tommy Schuster comes in from North Dakota. Running back K'Ron Lynch-Adams from UMass. Freshman wide receiver Nick Marsh. Tight end Jack Velling from Oregon State. Guard Luke Newman from Holy Cross. Center Tanner Miller from Oregon State. Defensive tackle Daquan Dowse from Georgia Tech. Defensive tackle Ben Roberts from Oregon. Defensive tackle Jalen Satchel from Old Dominion. Edge rusher Quindarius Dunnigan from Mid-Tennessee. Linebacker Wayne Matthews III from Old Dominion. Linebacker Jordan Turner from Wisconsin. Linebacker Marcellus Pulliam from Miami, corner Ed Woods from Arizona State, corner Jeremiah Hughes from LSU, punter Carson Voss from Western Michigan, and freshman kicker Martin Connington. So Logan's high off 6-6 for Sparty this year. So they win at home against FAU on a Friday night. I have them losing at Maryland though to get to 1-1. They beat Prairie View A&M 2-1. They win at Boston College, I think. That's a tough road game, but 3-1. They lose at home against Ohio State, at Oregon on a Friday. So they go into the Week 7 bye 3-3. They lose at home against Iowa 3-4, at Michigan 3-5. I have them losing at home against Indiana 3-6. Into the Week 11 bye. At Illinois, they lose 3-7. They win at home against Purdue, though, on a Friday to get to 4-7, and I have them 5-7. They beat Rutgers at home, so 5-7. And the conference record here, they beat Purdue and Rutgers, and I think that's about it. Yeah, so 2-7 in conference. All right, the final returning Big Ten team, also with a new head coach, Indiana, the Hoosiers, 3-9 last year, 1-8 in conference, finished 7th in the East, last overall in the conference. Quarterback Brendan Sorsby went to Cincinnati. Quarterback Dexter Williams II to Georgia Southern. Running back Trent Howland to Oklahoma State. Running back Josh Henderson is gone. Running back Jalen Lucas went to Florida State. Wide receiver DeCuse Carter is gone. Wide receiver Cameron Camper went to Boise State. Defensive tackle Andre Carter is on the Bengals. Defensive lineman Philip Bleedy went to Auburn. Linebacker Aaron Casey is on the Bengals. Defensive back Philip Dunham went to FAU. Defensive back Kobe Minor went to Memphis. Safety Lewis Moore went to Ole Miss. Kicker Chris Freeman went to UConn. Returning for the Hoosiers, quarterback Taven Jackson. Wide receiver Donovan McCauley. Wide receivers E.J. Williams Jr. and Omar Cooper Jr. Center Mike Kadick Edge rushers Jacob Mangum Farrar and Linnell Carr Jr. and punter James Evans. So another head coaching change. Big transfer class. Head coach Kurt Cignetti comes in from James Madison. They got quarterback Curtis Rourke from Ohio, running back Justice Ellison from Wake Forest, running back Kalen Black from James Madison, wide receiver Elijah Surratt from James Madison, wide receiver Miles Price from Texas Tech, wide receiver Miles Cross from Ohio, tight end Zach Horton from James Madison, offensive tackle Trey Wettig from Wisconsin, guard Tyler Stevens and Nick Kidwell from James Madison, defensive tackle CJ West from Kent State, defensive tackle James Carpenter, edge rusher Mikhail Kamara, linebacker Aiden Fisher, linebacker Jalen Walker, all from JMU, linebacker Najee Logan from UMass, corner D'Angelo Pons from JMU, safety Sean Asbury II from Old Dominion, as is safety Terry Jones Jr., safety DJ Warnell Jr. from Arizona, and kicker Derek McCormick from UL Monroe. So I'm very high on Indiana this year just because Kurt Cignetti, I've been following JMU for a while. They have some really good players they brought in. 5-7 for Logan in year one of Cignetti. So let's see what we got. At home against FIU, they win 1-0. They win at home against Western Illinois on a Friday, 2-0. At UCLA, that's a tough road game. I'll give them a loss, 2-1. They win at home against Charlotte, 3-1. They win at home against Maryland to get to 4-1. They win at Northwestern, 5-1 into the Week 7 bye. They lose at home against Nebraska, though, 5-2. They lose at home against Washington, 5-3. They win at Michigan State to get to 6-3. They lose at home against Michigan to get to 6-4 into the Week 12 bye. Lose at Ohio State, 6-5. And then they win at home against Purdue, 7-5 for me for the Hoosiers this year. And in conference, they lost against Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, and UCLA. So 5-4 in conference play. Yeah. I think, 4-5, I think. Because I had them. Yeah, I had them going, losing Ohio State, Michigan, Washington. I had Nebraska. I had them losing against Nebraska as well. 4-5 in conference. But still, that's an excellent year for Kurt Cignetti's squad in year one. All right, let's go to the new blood. Washington, 14-1 last year, 9-0 in the Pac-12. National champion, runner-up, won the Pac-12 championship, obviously. Quarterback Michael Penix Jr., drafted by the Falcons. Quarterback Dylan Morris went to James Madison. Running back Dylan Johnson is on the Panthers. Running back Will Nixon went to Syracuse. Running back Tybo Rogers, no longer on the roster. Wide receiver Roma Dunze, drafted by the Bears. Wide receiver Jalen Polk, drafted by the Patriots. Wide receiver Jalen McMillan, drafted by the Bucks. Wide receiver Jeremy Bernard went to Alabama. Tight end Devin Culp, drafted by the Bucks. Tight end Jack Westover is on the Seahawks. Offensive tackle Troy Faltanu, drafted by the Steelers. Offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten, drafted by the Ravens. Guard Parker Brailsford went to Alabama. Defensive tackle Tuli Latuli Gasanoa is on the Rams. Edge rusher Braylon Trice, drafted by the Falcons. Edge rusher Zion Tupuola Fatui is gone. Linebacker Edifon Ulafosio, drafted by the Bills. Corner Jabbar Muhammad went to Oregon. Defensive back Michael Powell went to Miami. And safety Dominic Hampton, drafted by the Commanders. Not a lot returning for the Huskies. Guard Memilar. That's the only offensive returner. Linebackers Carson Bruner and Alfonso Tuputala. Corners Elijah Jackson and Thaddeus Dixon. Punter Jack McAllister and kicker Grady Gross. So another new head coach, another massive transfer class. Head coach Jed Fish comes in from Arizona. He brought in quarterback Will Rogers from Mississippi State, freshman quarterback Damon Williams Jr., running back Jonah Coleman from Arizona, wide receiver Jeremiah Hunter from Cal, wide receiver Kevin Green Jr. from Arizona, tight end Kaleki Latu from Nevada, offensive tackle Maximus McCree from Maryland, offensive tackle Drew Azapardi from San Diego State, guard Enoch Vimahi from Ohio State, freshman guard Paki Finau, center D'Angelo Titiali from Portland State, defensive tackle Sebastian Valdez from Montana State, defensive tackle Logan Sagapolu from Miami, edge rusher Deshaun Lynch from Sacramento State, edge rusher Isaiah Ward from Arizona, linebacker Anthony Ward from Arizona, corner Ephesians Prysock from Arizona, corner Justin Harrington from Oklahoma, corner Jordan Shaw from Indiana, safety Cameron Broussard from Sacramento State, and kicker freshman kicker Sam Finnegan. Brought in a lot for Washington, so I think they're going to still be competitive under Jedd Fisch. Good head coach, was very good at Arizona last year. Logan has them 7-5. Let's see what we got here. I have them winning at home against Weber State, winning at home against Eastern Michigan. They win at home against Washington State 3-0. They win at home against Northwestern 4-0. At Rutgers, I think they win on a Friday night. I know it's tough going all the way to Rutgers, but 5-0. They lose at home against Michigan 5-1. They lose at Iowa 5-2. Getting into the week 8 bye. I have them beating Indiana 6-2. Beating USC 7-2. They lose at Penn State to get to 7-3. They win at home against UCLA to get to 8-3 on a Friday night into the week 13 bye, and then they lose at Oregon. So 8-4 for me under Jedd Fisch year 1. And conference losses: Oregon, Penn State, Iowa, Michigan. So 5-4 in conference. All right, let's get to the Oregon Ducks here. 12-2 last year, 8-1, Pac-12 runner-up. Quarterback Bo Nix drafted by the Broncos. Quarterback Ty Thompson went to Tulane. Running back Bucky Irving drafted by the Bucks. Wide receiver Troy Franklin drafted by the Broncos. Guard Jackson Powers Johnson drafted by the Raiders. Guard Stephen Jones is on the Jags. Defensive tackle Brandon Dorless drafted by the Falcons. Defensive tackle Taki Taimani is on the Vikings. Defensive tackle Casey Rogers is on the Giants. Linebacker Jamal Hill drafted by the Texans. Corner Kyrie Jackson, rest in peace, drafted by the Vikings. Safety Evan Williams drafted by the Packers. Safety Steve Stevens the fourth, and kicker Camden Lewis both gone as well. They return quite a bit, especially offensively. Running back Jordan James, wide receivers Tez Johnson, Trayshawn Holden, Gary Bryant Jr., tight end Terrence Ferguson, offensive tackles Josh Connerly Jr. and Ajani Cornelius, guard Marcus Harper II, linebackers Jeffrey Bassa and Bryce Botcher, corners Nico Reed and Dante Manning, safety Tysheem Johnson, punter Ross James, and kicker Grant Meters. Dan Lanning did some good work in the transfer portal here. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma, quarterback Dante Moore from UCLA, wide receiver Evan Stewart from Texas A&M, guard Matthew Bedford from Iowa, defensive tackle Jamari Caldwell from Houston, defensive tackle Derek Harmon from Michigan State, freshman edge rusher Elijah Rushing, corner Cam Alexander from UTSA, corner Jabbar Muhammad from Washington, corner Brandon Johnson from Duke, corner Sione Lalea from College of San Mateo, safety Kobe Savage from Kansas State, freshman safeties Aaron Flowers and Kingston Lopa, and kicker Atticus Sappington from Oregon State. 12-0 for Logan. See if I got no losses for the Ducks as well. They win at home against Idaho. They win at home against Boise State. They win at Oregon State 3-0 into the week 4 bye. They win at UCLA 5-0. They win at home against Michigan State on a Friday. 6-0. They win at home against Ohio State 7-0. They win at Purdue on a Friday 8-0. They win at home against Illinois. At Michigan, they win to get to 9-0. They win at home against Maryland. They win at Wisconsin. Yeah, I mean 12-0. I'm in. I am in on 12-0 for the Oregon Ducks. That is 9-0 conference record. Yeah, I mean the big questions are obviously the Civil War early in the year. It's a big one, but I don't think Oregon State's quite as good as they were last year. Ohio State's a big one, but it's in Eugene. They got to go to the Big House, so that's probably the biggest one. And then 2 weeks later, they have to go to Wisconsin as well. I think it's a big one as well. And Washington, could be a factor, but it's in Eugene. So. All right, let's go to the Trojans. USC, 8-5 last year, 5-4 in conference, finished 6th in the Pac-12. Quarterback Caleb Williams drafted by the Bears. Running back Marshawn Lloyd drafted by the Packers. Running back Austin Jones is on the Commanders. Wide receiver Brendan Rice drafted by the Chargers. Wide receiver Taj Washington drafted by the Dolphins. Wide receiver Mario Williams went to Tulane. Wide receiver Dorian Singer to Utah. Wide receiver Michael Jackson III went to Georgia. Guard Jarrett Kingston, drafted by the 49ers. Defensive tackle Keon Bars is on the Seahawks. Defensive lineman Romello Height went to Georgia Tech. Edge rusher Solomon Byrd is on the Texans. Corner Christian Roland Wallace is on the Chiefs. Safety Kalen Bullock drafted by the Texans. Lincoln Riley's squad returns quarterback Miller Moss, wide receivers Deuce Robinson and Zachariah Branch, off the tackle Mason Murphy, guard Emmanuel Pregnon, center Jonah Monheim, edge rusher Jamil Muhammad, linebacker Mason Cobb, corner Jalen Smith, safety Bryson Shaw, punter Eddie Shaplicki, kicker Dennis Lynch. Transfer portal, quarterback Jaden Mayava from UNLV, running back Woody Marks from Mississippi State, wide receiver Kyle Ford from UCLA, wide receiver Jay Fair from Auburn, wide receiver Charles Ross from San Jose State, freshman offensive tackle Justin Talanu, defensive tackle Nate Clifton from Vanderbilt, linebacker Easton Mascarenas Arnold from Oregon State, corner John Humphrey from UCLA, freshman corner Marcellus Williams, corner DeCarlos Nicholson from Mississippi State, corner Greedy Vance Jr. from Florida State, safety Akili Arnold from Oregon State, and safety Kamari Ramsey from UCLA. Logan's got him 7-5. I feel like I'm very low on USC this year. At LSU, that's on a Sunday in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. They lose 0-1. They win at home against Utah State, though. Early week 3 bye. They lose at Michigan 2-1. They lose at home against Wisconsin 2-3. I had them losing at Minnesota 2-4. Or 2-3, I should say. No, 1-4. 1-4. 1-5 because they lose at home against Penn State. I think they can beat Maryland, though, 2-5. They beat Rutgers on a Friday, 3-5. They lose at Washington, 3-6. Week 11 bye. They beat Nebraska at home 5-5. They win at UCLA 6-5, and they lose at home versus Notre Dame 6-6. I think I got my math right. 1-1, 1-2, 3, 4, 5, 2-5, 3-5, 3-6. No, 5-7. Yeah, 5-7 for USC this year. And lone conference wins comes against UCLA, Nebraska, Rutgers, Maryland. 4-5 in conference. Not very good. UCLA the last team here, 8-5, 4-5 in Pac-12 play, 7th in the Pac-12 last year. Quarterback Dante Moore went to Oregon. Quarterback Colin Schlee to Virginia Tech. Running back Carson Steele was on the Chiefs. Wide receiver Kyle Ford went to USC. Tight end Colson Yankoff is on the Commanders. Tight end Carson Ryan went to Utah. Edge rusher Laiatu Latu drafted by the Colts. Edge rusher Gabriel Murphy is on the Vikings. Edge rusher Grayson Murphy is on the Dolphins. Linebacker Darius Muasau drafted by the Giants. Linebacker Carl Jones is on the Bears. Corner Alex Johnson is on the Giants. Defensive back Kenny Churchwell III is gone, and kicker RJ Lopez went to Purdue. They were the Bruins returned quarterback Ethan Garbers, running back TJ Harden, wide receivers Logan Loya and J. Michael Sturdivant, tight end Maliki Matavo, offensive tackle Garrett DeGiorgio, guard Spencer Holsteig, center Josh Carlin, kicker Kane Medrano, linebacker Oluwafemi Oladejo, corner Jalen Davies, and kicker Blake Glessner. New head coach Deshaun Foster was the UCLA running back coach the last couple of seasons. He brought in fullback Leo Kemp from San Diego State, running back Jalen Berger from Michigan State, wide receiver Rico Flores Jr. from Notre Dame, freshman wide receiver Quasi Gilmer, tight end Bryce Pierre from Arizona State, offensive tackle Ruben Anije from Louisville, offensive tackle Michael Carmody from Notre Dame, guard Alani Makihele from UNLV, guard Oluwafunto Akinshilo from Iowa State, edge rusher Drew Tuazama from South Carolina, edge rusher Sharif Sai from Florida A&M, edge rusher Jacob Busick from Navy, linebacker Joseph Vaughn from Yale, corner KJ Wallace II from Georgia Tech, corner Kalen Moore from Cal, safety Roman Henderson from Notre Dame, safety Brian Addison from Oregon, punter Brody Richter from Northern Arizona, and kicker Mateen Bagani from Cal. Logan has them going 7-5. I feel like I'm not that high. I wasn't that high on USC, not that high on UCLA. At Hawaii, that's a tough road game to start, but they win that one. Week 2, very early bye. They beat Indiana 2-0. They lose at LSU 2-1. They lose at home against Oregon 2-2. They lose at Penn State 2-3. They win at home against Minnesota to get to 3-3. At Rutgers, I had them losing that one 3-4. Week 9 bye. At Nebraska 3-5. At home against Iowa on a Friday 3-6. At Washington on a Friday 3-7. They lose at home against USC as well 3-8. And they beat Fresno State to get to 4-8. I am not high on these UCLA USC teams here this season. The conference wins, though, come against Minnesota and Indiana. 2-7 conference record. All right, so finally, the last thing to talk about here is the one game in between our shows this week on Thursday night. Eagles 1-0 at the Patriots 1-0, and it is a 2.5-point spread for New England. Not really sure who's going to play. I would expect the starters to start playing in this game, though, a little bit. And with how good Kenny Pickett looked, decent Drake May looked, I'm going to like the Eagles, of course. Go Birds. 35.5 is the total for this one. And I am leaning on the under. The Eagles defense was outstanding last week. Patriots defense usually is as well. So under 35.5, 7 p.m. NFL Network on Thursday night. And that is the show for today. Thank y'all for watching. Next week, we'll be back preseason week 3. We'll get you all your preseason week 3 previews. And we'll continue our college conference previews. We have the SEC on Friday. Next Monday, we'll get to you Conference USA and the FBS Independence. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X. FAApodcast.com is our website. You check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Thank y'all for staying in the long show, and we will see y'all back for Football Friday. Make sure to catch my football grind show with IFL Bay Area Panthers safety Tyler Watson tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern as well. Thanks.